Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing good. There's Mark, Janie, good to see you. Janica, always good to see you. I hope everybody has been doing well. Luna has been dealing with the flu. That's why you ain't been seeing me. I did my live that Wednesday night over on the Den. Went good, but I woke up Thursday morning and couldn't even talk. I didn't even have a voice for like a day and a half. It was Thursday, probably early Thursday evening before I could even talk again. So yeah, then all the bad stuff set in. So yeah, Luna's been dealing with the flu. So I've just been laying low, trying to take care of myself and feeling human again though. I'm probably about 80% back now. I was around YouTube last night, went by Buddy's. He was having his first annual Streamy Awards, and that was a lot of fun. It's -2 where Janica is. Well, here it's about 45, cloudy, overcast, and rainy. So there's the Oregon weather forecast. Yes, it was fun, Janie. And he gave me that award, best mortician on a live stream. I will take it. I will take that. But I am his personal mortician. I have the contract on Buddies. On Buddies when he when his time comes. But I'll make him look good, Janica. I got the tools and the know-how. But yeah, red carpet event last night at Buddies. Everybody showed up looking all spiffy in their finest. I was there with my hot date for the night. He was looking pretty yummy too, Janica. I'll say that. But it was fun. We had a good time over there. Now that's all I know that I got, Janica. Best mortician on a live stream. I will take that. And there is Randy. What's going on, Randy? Come on in. Good to see you. Yeah, I'll tell them. I told them already, Randy, but I have been out with the flu. Y'all don't want this flu going around because it's just bad. But I'm back today. We'll see how long my voice holds up. But yeah, it was a great time over Buddies. It was a definitely a fun live. But some of them categories, Janica, had me cracking up. So yeah, what's going on in Luna's world? You sound good, Luna. Well, I'm feeling, hopefully I'm not going to go on some bad coughing spree on you. That's kind of the problem right now. I've got this cough hanging on. But it's not too bad. I took medicine before about 30 minutes ago, so hopefully everything will be okay. Yeah, I was going to come back. I did that live Wednesday, lost my voice Thursday, got it back like early evening Friday. I was going to come back Saturday and do my tales from the funeral home. But my producer said, no, don't do it. Take care of your voice. Yeah, I got a producer now, Janica. We're uptown now. So we are going places. When your channel has a producer, you know you're doing something right. Yeah, it was under the advisement of my producer not to do a live, just to take care of myself and get well. Luna lost her voice from partying too hard. Yeah, I wish that was the case, Mark. I have not been partying, so I know that's not true. But hey, it sounds good. Yeah, we are moving up, Janica. We are going places. I'm just sitting over here laughing. And I'm like, damn, I never had a producer before, but I will take it. Luna needs help. Luna needs a lot of help sometimes. So it works out at the end. But what's Luna been up to? Well, like I said, I've been sick. I worked the other day. They called me and said, "Hey, we got you somebody if you want to come in and check it out." And I'm like, "Oh, God, okay." So I go and I was like, I'm thinking, damn, this is going to be bad, or they wouldn't call me. Am I up? Am I feeling up for it? Well, we'll go check it out, see what it was all about. Car accident, person passed away. I get there and I'm thinking, oh man, what have I walked into? I shouldn't even be here right now. And I went in there and got the information, and they're like, well, it's some facial lacerations. I'm like, oh, damn, okay. I'm like, this is going to take some time. I go in there. I check this person out. Yeah, one of the facial lacerations was pretty gnarly. I mean, I'll say that. It looked pretty nasty. The other one, not so bad. So I was there about 3 hours working on that, and I'm thinking I can fix this. And they're like, well, the family's adamant about having a viewing. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me see what I can do. Go work my magic here. I didn't at that point. I hadn't seen them yet. I'm like, well, I might be here a short time. I may be here a long time. I didn't know. So I walked back there and I looked. And like I said, one of the lacerations was pretty gnarly. I think it was had to been from probably a piece of glass or something. But yeah, one of them was pretty nasty. The other one wasn't so bad. I'm like, damn, this is light work. I thought y'all had something really bad. And they're like, well, the family wants a viewing. We can't fix that. That's why we called you. They are adamant about having a viewing. And I'm like, well, I can fix it back. I can make it look right. You just have to give me time. I said, let me go to work. Yep, Janica, by the time I got done, you couldn't even tell anything happened to them. Like I said, it took me about 3 hours, but they looked really good when I left. I was pretty happy with the end result. And I'm like, well, if they don't like that, then there's no more I can do for them. That's the best I can do. But yeah, they ended up looking pretty good. Yeah, I worked my magic, Janica. And I kind of like going to work, when I want to, because it keeps me brushed up on my skills. It's definitely an art, I can say that. But it keeps me brushed up on my skills, and I kind of like that. Luna had to get her needle and thread. No, I did not use needle and thread, but yes, I used what I use. But no needle and thread. I didn't use that. So that's, I figured, well, I've managed to make another family happy, and my job was done, and I left. Yesterday, I got a phone call, but I missed it. Then I tried to call. There was that young man that bought my funeral home, and I tried to call him back and missed him. And so he called me back today. They got some things going on. Steri tape and putty. Well, actually, what I used to close. Oh, there's Roland. Come on in, Roland. What I use for that is a liquid adhesive. Put it on the inside, and you just kind of put it all back together, and it holds exceptionally well. And then the line where the cut or the laceration was, take a little bit of that putty and you just kind of put it over it, smooth it all out, let it set for a little bit, about 45 minutes, go in, do your makeup over it. Nothing I mean, it's nothing. It just disappears. It's a great thing. But yeah, liquid adhesive works very well. That, the putty, you just put a little bit on there just to cover that line and let that set. Like I said, you gotta let that set for about 45 minutes. And then you put, I use my makeup that I use. And by the time I was done, yeah, they look great. I was like, damn, I didn't think it'd turn out that good. But yeah, I was happy. And even the people that own the funeral home, they was happy with it. So I'm so curious about your process. Yeah, what I'm going to do next Saturday. Next Saturday, I think I'm going to do strictly a Q&A live. Write your questions down. Bring your questions. If there's anything you want to ask me, bring your questions next Saturday, and I will do strictly a Q&A and address all these things, because everybody's got questions when it comes to this line of work. I mean, you'd be surprised at the things I have been asked over my 30-year career. I mean, I have been asked so much. So no question I'm going to get asked is going to surprise me any. So you got all week to come up with your questions. Write them down. Next Saturday, it's going to be Q&A. Bring your questions and I will answer them for you. But it is good to see everyone. Jonathan, how are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a good and blessed day. I'm doing good. Getting over the flu, but I'm here. But it's good to see you, Jonathan. So, what was this phone call about that I got from back home? Well, the young man that tried to get in touch with me, and we was playing phone tag, but I did talk to him a little earlier, and he is looking to hire this young girl that's getting ready to finish mortuary school. He's wanting to hire her to come work with him. And he's wanting me to sit in on this interview. And I'm like, the thought of having a young girl in there, someone that wants to go into that profession, kind of reminds me of when I started. So, the idea of him wanting to hire this young lady to come work for him, I'm kind of happy about that, because we need more women in that line of work. So I told him, I said, well, don't schedule it yet, because my oldest daughter is getting ready to have surgery. I said, I'm waiting to see when they're going to schedule her for the surgery, and I'll be down there, because I'm going to go down and take care of the 2 grandkids while she's recovering from surgery. I said, let me find out when that is going to be. She's supposed to let me know as soon as she knows. Then I will let you know. We'll schedule this interview while I'm there. He wants me to sit in on it because he's never interviewed anybody. I interviewed him. I said, well, you remember the interview you had with me when I interviewed you for the job? And he's like, well, yeah, but that was different. And I'm like, well, how is that different? Well, you know my mom and dad, you know me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, just because I knew your parents and I knew you didn't have any merit on you getting that job. I said, it's when you come in and sit down with me. I said, your attitude, your appearance, your sincerity is what got you that job. Not just because I knew who your mom and dad was, or knew you ever since you was born. I said, that had nothing to do with it. I said, you come in very professionally. You didn't throw some attitude at me like, hey, I just got out of school and I know everything. You didn't do that. I said, you answered my questions. You brought everything with you that I asked you to bring. I said, so that's what got you your job, not who you are. Would I have hired him anyway, just because I did know his mom and dad? If it come down to just that, probably not. But it's how he carried himself and how he answered the questions. And I was like, I knew you was a good fit, because just because you go to mortuary school and you bring me a diploma and you bring me all these things I asked you to bring does not mean you're fit for the job. I said, do you realize how many people go to college for this degree like we have, and when it gets down to it, they can't do the job? I said, and I've seen it happen. I said, just because you got the piece of paper and the education does not mean you can do the job. But if we choose to hire this young lady, then she will do her 1-year internship right there in-house with him. And then she'll go right to work with him. I mean, she will be a licensed funeral director embalmer, but state says you have to do a 1-year internship. So it would work out at the end for everybody. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And if she's the right one, then she'll get the job. If not, he's going to be on the look for somebody else, because Luna's not going back to work like that. Because he's like, well, you could just come back. I was like, well, no, I couldn't, because I'm not going to do it again. I like where I'm at. I work when I want to. Yeah, it's Mark, I don't know yet, when she's going to have her surgery. I'm just waiting for her, because the surgeon's so booked up, but they're trying to fit her in there somewhere so she doesn't have to wait, any longer than she has to. So we'll see, but she'll be okay. It's not a major surgery that she's having, but the recovery, it's going to take a little bit for her to get back up on her feet and get back to work. And she knows that. But what I'm going to hate, Mark, now she took care of me when I was sick. And, I called her Nurse Ratchet, jokingly, anyway. But when you go to take care of somebody who is, she's an RN, so I'm going to go take care of her. So she'll be barking orders out at me. That's not how you do it, Ma. I can hear it already. But it'll work out. The only good thing is, I'll get to be there with her, but I'll get to spend time with those 2 grandkids of mine. That is the best part of it. I'll get to spend time with Ariel and Peyton, my new grandson. He's growing and getting big. Yeah, I know, Janica. Good luck to me. I'm just like, man, what am I walking into? But it'll be fine. I'll just send her husband. I'll be like, hey, it's your turn. Yeah. You go deal with her. I'm taking care of the grandkids. You go deal with her. Yeah, that's what I called her, Mark, was Nurse Ratchet. When she was up here in Oregon taking care of me, after I had my little minor surgery and was going through my treatment, she come to Oregon. She took time off her job and come up here and took care of me. And yeah, That was what I nicknamed her. Made her mad. God, it made her mad. But it's okay. I don't. I. She's like, "What are you calling me that for, Mom?" Because I can. She'd get mad, but it was something. I had to find some humor in the situation. So picking on her was my outlet. But she's a lot like me. She can laugh it off and go on. She don't get mad. But yeah, I've already got a plan. There's Lady Garden. Come on in. I already got a plan. She gets too out of hand, I'll just be telling her husband, "Hey, you go deal with her because I'm doing this right now." I'm I've got the grandson. You go deal with her. But yeah, that part's gonna be fun. I think that's the part I'm looking forward to the most is getting to spend some time with my two grandkids because I don't get to see them very often. So she needs mom, so mama go do what, mom duties, grandma duties. But I'll be happy to do it. Fluffy and Axel can help. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what help they're going to be, but yeah, they'll be going with me because I'm driving down there. So they'll get to go and go hang out for a while. I mean, I've left them before, but I'm not going to leave them that long. Then they would just disown me, Mark, at that point. So no, they'll be going with me when I go. So now y'all know why I ain't been here, what I've been doing since I haven't been here. So now everybody's caught up and current. You enjoy him while you can. Yeah, I mean, Adrian is off to college. We got him moved into the dorm. He's off living the college life now. And I was waiting for his bank card to come in. It finally come in after he left for school. So I had to call his dorm one set. They've got two sets of dorm parents that live there in the dorm. So I called one of them and I was like, "Hey, I got his bank card. I need to overnight it down there. If I send it to you, can you make sure you get it to him?" "Yeah, we can do that." So I had to run to the post office and freaking overnight his bank card to him so he would have it. But yeah, he's living the good life down there in the dorm, doing the college thing. But now, I get that feeling of the empty nesting again because I had him here with me for 6 months, a little over 6 months. So yeah, I'm feeling that empty nest thing again because he's gone. So I'm flying solo now. But it's okay. He's off doing his thing, having a good time. They're going to have a Super Bowl watch party tomorrow. They're at the dorm. He's getting to know people that live there. His roommate's a really cool kid. So they're getting along great. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good experience for him. And I told him, just go have fun. Not too much fun, but go have fun. Enjoy your college experience and go learn something. I don't think I got to worry about him too much. So yeah, Super Bowl watch party tomorrow, and then next weekend they're having some kind of Valentine's Day party thing. I don't know what they're doing. He just told me a little bit about it. He's like, they're going to do some kind of Valentine's party. Okay. So these dorm parents, though, they always planning stuff for these kids. So they keep them busy, in the evening with different activities and stuff. And that's a good thing. Because, man, some of these kids don't even look like they're old enough to be in college, but they're old enough. They've graduated high school. I'm like, damn, how old is that kid? This one girl I seen moving into the dorm. Now, his dorm is not co-ed. It's not a co-ed dorm. But it was the dorm next over across the way. I seen this girl and her, I guess her parents, moving her stuff in. I'm like, damn, this kid don't look like she may be like 15, 16 years old. But apparently she was old enough to go to college. So, yeah, we had that option. You know, the co-ed dorm thing. I didn't think it was a good idea. So I'm like, no, we're not doing that. You don't need that. You know, you ain't there for that. You're there to freaking get your education. You can worry about that later on. You ain't got time for that right now. But yeah, his dorm, his roommate, he's a really cool kid. So I think they're gonna do well together. So we'll see. He wanted me, y'all, he wanted me to freaking go and hawk for him a private room. Can y'all believe that? He wanted me to pay for a private room for him. I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? You know, you going to Yale or something? You need your own private room? I ain't paying for that. You gonna have a roommate and you're gonna like it. But there's only two of them in this room. So, but their dorm room's big though. They got a nice sized dorm room. They got their own little fridge and everything in there. They're freaking set up. I'm like, damn, did I miss out, you know, by going to college and not living in the dorm? But yeah, it's real big. You know, they got plenty of room to do what they want to do. And I'm like, you got everything you need. You know, there is no more that you need. So what did Nana end up having to pay for after grants and scholarships paid for whatever? I paid for his parking permit. I paid for his meal plan, and I paid for half of his dorm for the term. So I'm like, well, I made that agreement. Whatever it didn't cover, I'd pay the rest of it. So that's what I ended up having to pay out of pocket. But the thing is, he's got to have a place to park, he's got to eat, and he's got to sleep. So what choice did I have? But he's all took care of and off doing his thing. Very generous of you. Well, Janica, I'm getting off cheap with him because when the girls went to college, I paid for it all out of pocket. So I'm getting off cheap with Adrian. That's how I see it. If I have to pay just for that, yeah, I'm getting off cheap with him. Now, wait a minute. I take that back. My youngest daughter, she got some grants and scholarships. Her first term, her first semester. What did I end up paying for her? I think I paid for her meal plan for when she was at school. And then the second semester, I think I ended up paying for her books or something. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting off cheap with Adrian, so I'm not complaining. If all that paid for, you know, what he needed and that was what was left, then I'll pay for it. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I had a question that was brought up in here. Maybe not the last time we was together, but the time before. Have I ever had, because they have trunk parties, they got everything. Yeah, I don't know. If he's doing whatever, I don't want to know about it. And Adrian only tells me what he's going to tell me. So, but he knows what I told him on the way to school. We had that discussion on the way down there. I said, if you do this, or this, you're done. I will jerk you out of school and put you somewhere else. I said, I can do that. So yeah, he's not going to mess up. because he knows my expectations and what I expect out of him. So all he's got to do is just go by the rules, and he's fine. He can stay. He can go to school there as long as he wants. As long as he don't break them 3 rules. If he breaks one of them 3, he's done. I will freaking move him back in with me, and I will drive his little butt to school every day, and I will go and pick him up. And I shouldn't have to do that. He is grown. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Can't remember if it was the live that I did last time or maybe the time before. Oh yeah, Janica, tough love. I don't treat him any different than I did his mother. But he knows I don't put up with a lot of crap either. But he's going to be good for me. I got faith in him. He's going to be good. His mama's good. He's going to be good. He's going to do what he's supposed to do. No babies. Yeah, Mark, no, we ain't doing that either. But was it the live I did last or the live before then? One of them lives, somebody asked me if I had ever had cops at a funeral. So we're going to address this today because yes, I have on more than one occasion. And I will give you the background stories and why I did what I did to have cops at these funerals. The first story, Mark, now we've moved past it, Mark. We're not doing that. Was when I was married a long time ago, and y'all know I was married a long time ago. No, it wasn't a biker funeral. When I was married to my ex-husband, I had a nephew that had gotten married to this young girl. They were good, though. They were good kids. They worked hard, had just bought their first home, and she got pregnant and had a little girl. Her name was Renee. And of course, them working, she took her maternity leave and went back to work. And they put her in this daycare, which it had a good reputation in the town, that it was a good daycare. None of us thought anything about it. Daycare was good. She got off work, she'd go pick her up, take her home. Life was good. Well, when Renee turned 8 months old, her mom took her to daycare that day and dropped her off. Then about 1 o'clock that afternoon, she got a call at work. Renee was not breathing. Well, of course, any parent is going to go into freaking panic mode. She jumped. Well, they had already called the ambulance and everything, and then called her. Well, of course, she runs out of work, drives to the daycare. Well, by then, the ambulance had already been there and left, so she went to the hospital. At that point, the baby was on life support. And they was getting ready to life flight her out to a bigger hospital that had a pediatric ICU. So I get the call, and I'm like, what the, So I called my ex-husband. I was like, this is what's going on. I said, I can't get away. I said, so you're going to have to make all your phone calls or do whatever you're going to do or meet them up there or whatever the case is. I didn't get up there till the next day. And I walk in because they had her in pediatric ICU. I went back and seen her and come back out, and I knew exactly what had happened to her. And I guess that look on my face, my ex-husband knew something was wrong. And I was like, well, I'm going to go out and, I'm going to go downstairs and go get some air. I had to get out of there for a minute because we had gotten pretty attached to this baby. And I'm like, damn, and he's like, well, I'll go with you. And so we get outside away from everybody. And he's like, what is wrong with you? I said, I know what happened to her. I said, the signs are all there to me. And he said, well, what happened to her? I said, she's been shook. I said, that's shaken baby syndrome. I said, she's got all the signs of it. And he said, what do you mean? I said, she's all the signs are there. I said, I looked at her and I knew exactly what was wrong and what happened to her. Well, a couple of days later, they had to make that decision, to turn her life support off. The doctor had told them, what had happened to her. I knew it before the doctor even told them, but it ain't my place to say anything. So a couple of days later, they had to turn the life support off. And guess who they call? I'm back at work. I get the phone call. I have to go get her. It's about an hour and a half away. So I go get her, and they're there. And I was like, well, come tomorrow. I said, what time do y'all want to come talk to me? Oh, probably, like 1 o'clock. I said, okay. I said, I'll be waiting on y'all. I said, don't worry about nothing. Just come see me. Because I had a program that I ran through my funeral home where any child the age of 1 year or younger, I buried for free. There was no charge to the parents whatsoever. So I'm like, well, they don't need to be worrying about paying for a funeral. Anyway, I mean, it's tragedy enough. They just lost their daughter. So and that was a hard one there because I knew this kid. I had a personal attachment to this baby. So they come and meet me the next day. And I'm like, I don't want y'all to worry about paying for this. Well, you don't have to do that. They thought I'd done it just because, of who I was, married to his uncle. I was like, no, that don't have no play in it because I do this for anyone that has a child that is a year or younger. If they lose their child, I said, I will take care of them for free. I said, it is a service I do that I provide. So all you all have to do is pick out what you want. I had all my catalogs there waiting. I said, because I don't keep this stuff on hand. I said, but I can have it here by in the morning. I said, y'all pick out the things you want and I'll have everything ready. I said, tell me when you want your visitation and viewing, when you want the funeral. I said, I'll have everything ready to go. So they picked out what they wanted. And they're like, well, we have, she's like, well, I'll have to bring you something to dress her in. I said, well, you pick out what you going to, want me to dress her in and bring it to me by in the morning. I said, because I'm going to need that. They wasn't thinking when they came, she wasn't thinking about bringing clothes and stuff like that. I said, just have it to me in the morning by, say, 10 o'clock. Okay, I can do that. So the visitation was set. The funeral was set. Word started getting out in the town of what had happened to this little girl. And she was a Native American baby. Now, the woman that did this to her, and don't take this as some, racial thing or anything, because that's not what it's about. But they tried to turn it into that with all the publicity. She was a white woman. that did this to her. Well, of course, they're going to say it was a racial crime because Renee was the only Native baby that went to that daycare. Oh, yeah, newspapers got wind of it. I mean, that town about went flipped upside down over it. That woman was arrested and put in jail. For pending an full investigation. So she was in jail. Oh, yeah, I mean, it was crazy, Janica. They had people contacting them from Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where the main home office of the American Indian Movement is. Saying, it was a racial crime. We'll make sure she's prosecuted. We got our lawyers. And I mean, yeah, it become a pretty big deal in my hometown. Death threats were getting called in to the freaking police station where they had her in jail. You better keep her there. Don't let her walk out because then you're going to be burying her. I mean, it become a crazy thing. So I knew I had to do something. The funeral was going to be held at this little rural country church that had a cemetery there by it, and that's where a lot of my ex-husband's family was buried. And so I knew I had to figure out something because the newspapers were going to be all over this thing. When you have to render services to people, yeah, I mean, it does suck, Mark. It really does. That was one of the downfalls of the job, was I took care of a lot of people I knew, a lot of family members. So I called the sheriff's office for the county because it wasn't city, it would have to be county. And I called them and I said, hey, I need your help. And they're like, well, what's going on? I said, I've got this funeral planned for this Thursday. And they knew what I was talking about. This is where it's going to be. I said, I need some officers out there because I knew for a fact if they had the opportunity, the newspaper people was going to try to get in there. I said, I don't want all that. We don't need all that going on. I said, we need to be able to lay this baby to rest with some dignity and respect. And he said, well, I agree. He said, how many you need? He said, I'll give you all you want. And I said, well, I need 2 down at the road because off the highway, you turned onto this little dirt road that led up to the church. The church kind of set up on a hill. I said, I need at least 2 there. I need somebody up on the grounds walking, making sure nobody's coming in there. I said, because they're going to try to get the story, because it's so big right now. So he sent me like 7 officers the day of the funeral. I said, and I need probably a couple, maybe 3 for this viewing because people are going to be trying to get in here too. And he's like, I'll send you 4. He said, I'll get people there to take care of it. But that was city then. So I was working with the city and the county together. So the day of the viewing and visitation, I had 4 city cops that showed up there. 2 was outside, 2 was inside, kind of just not really walking around, but, they made their presence known amongst the people. Let's say that. A lot of people, too. Then I had the 2 on the outside. So, yeah, we had the viewing, the visitation. We went and had the funeral service. Like I said, it was just at this little rural country church. But, yeah, I had 2 down at the turn in that was parked down there. And then I had 3 that was up on the grounds walking around just to make sure, nobody was because when a reporter wants to get the story, they'll do whatever they got to do. If that means parking down the road and going through the freaking woods to get to where we was at. And that's what I was afraid of, that they would try to do. So yeah, needless to say, nothing happened. Everything went off good. But that was one funeral that I had to call police officers in on. And it's a shame that it come down to that. But the way things were around that situation there, I knew I had to do something because of the craziness that was already happening around it. So yeah, that's one story where I had to call police in and have them help me with a funeral. I would have been a wreck. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy, Mark, but it comes with the job. It's what I had to do. Yeah, I think I did the right thing, Janica, on that one, because I knew there would be somebody be trying to do something. Because with all of the craziness that was going on, I figured somebody, and if with the town paper, a reporter will go to whatever links they have to go to get the story. That's just how they work. Hey, Parasolo, how are you doing? Come on in. Good to see you. So yeah, that was one instance I had to call the police in on. Did I do that because they were a family member? No, I did not. I would have done that regardless if they would have been a family member or not, because simply for the publicity that was going around about it. That whole damn town was talking about it. And I'm like, I don't think I made the wrong choice in that, considering everything that was happening in the town. So I think I made the right call on that one. But like I said, whether they would have been a family member or not, I would have done that for anybody. I'm at work, but I'm watching on my downtime. Well, Parasolo, it's good to have you. Even though you're at work, don't work too hard over there. Parasolo, they got a good channel. Y'all go check it out. I make my rounds and I check out all these channels that come to my channel. I may not be there for the lives, but I go back and watch the replays and do my part to support everybody that is a channel creator that comes to my channel. But Parasolo, good to have you. Like I said, don't work too hard. And I guess the second case, and the thing is, the majority of these involve children, and that's the sad part of it all. There was a little 3-year-old little boy in my hometown whose stepfather, now the mother and stepfather were not great people. I'll just say it for what it is. The little boy had been removed once from the home, and then they got him back. But I guess he was acting up or doing something. I never got the full story, exactly what happened. But he was doing something that made the stepdad mad at him. The stepdad, and he was not a big kid. I mean, 3 years old. He's just a little guy. The stepfather proceeds to sit on this little boy and suffocated him. I mean, that's pretty much what happened. I get the call on that one too. So I go get him. And, of course, the town is already buzzing about it. So I knew when this funeral, they arrested the stepdad, the stepmom, or the mother. I never seen her until the day of the funeral. The grandparents came in and made the arrangements for him. Now, where the mother was at, I don't have any idea, but I did not see her till the day of the funeral. So the grandparents come in and make the arrangements for the little boy. And this is just a sad deal because this shouldn't even have happened. Man, they was just beside themselves. I mean, it really hurt these grandparents. So they come in, they make the arrangements, the visitation and viewing is set, the funeral set. And I'm like, this is going to be trouble. This might be one of them situations where there might be some problems because there was a lot of anger going around over that too. So here I am on the phone again with the city police department. I'm like, well, I'm handling the services for this little boy. I said, and anything could happen. I said, I need some help up here. And they're like, hey, we got you. We'll send you, I'll send you up some guys. What time's the visitation? What time's the funeral? We'll cover it. You don't worry about it. You just do your job and they'll do theirs. And I'm like, okay. Viewing and visitation went off, no problems. They was there. They was 2 outside and 2 on the inside again, watching everybody because they didn't know. I had no idea what was going to happen. Not that I was foreseeing a problem, but you never know in them circumstances, what could happen. So the day of the funeral, I got 2 officers in that chapel standing in the back, 2 outside. And I'm like, everybody was kind of on edge. The mother had showed, she was at the service. She didn't come to the visitation either. She showed up for the funeral. And I thought, man, somebody's going to go after this mom. I see it already, Something's going to happen before the day's over. Because there was a lot of people in the town, just the town itself that came for the service. I was like, somebody going to say something to her, somebody going to jump on her, something's going to happen before this day's over. That's what I was thinking in the back of my mind. Luckily, it didn't. So from there, we went to the city cemetery because that's where the grandparents had bought the plot at. Nothing happened. Said the grandparents, his parents, and her parents. Yeah, both sets of grandparents was the ones that come made the service arrangements for him. And and they were devastated over it. It really bothered them. And the dad's parents, they never even mentioned her, but her parents, I did say, well, is his mother going to be here with us? That's all I said. And they're like, no, she ain't going to be here. I don't know what the story was there. They said, you probably won't see her until the funeral. Okay. I didn't say no more to them. So we get to the cemetery, nothing happens. It's quiet, just a regular graveside service, and that was it. Uneventful. But this is some of the stuff I've had to deal with, especially crimes against children. It happens, and it's sad when it does. And the only other time I seen, a situation where I had to call police in About the last, say, 8 years of when I was working was when the gang thing really started playing in. There was these little gangs that popped up in my town. And there was a young man that had gotten shot. Well, he passed away. 17-year-old kid. I mean, it was a shame, that they got mixed up in that kind of thing. Well, of course, you start hearing things. People start talking. Well, we know who done it. Now we're going to go after them. Blah, blah, blah. The whole gang mentality thing. And I'm like, this might be trouble. I worried probably more about this than I did any other one I've ever done, because when you start factoring gang activity into a funeral, then you could have problems. So the family come in, they made all the arrangements for it. And then they have, we have this viewing and visitation. We're here, and I called again. I'm like, hey, I need your help. And they're like, well, what's going on? And I said, I've got this person here, and you know how this could be trouble. And that's the one I worried about the most, was probably doing this funeral. And so he's like, well, we'll be there. I'll send some people up there to help you. Because he's like, yeah, that could be a lot of problems for you that you don't need. So the day of the viewing and visitation, yeah, my nerves were just like, is something going to happen? Is something not? I mean, I didn't really know what was going to happen. Now, his parents were really nice people, and the family that come to do the arrangements for his funeral, really nice family. And how this kid ever got affiliated with any kind of, gang stuff, I still don't know. Never did figure that one out. So all that day, man, I was like, God, don't let nothing happen. I don't want to see somebody friggin' shot or arrested at my funeral. So people started showing up. Well, of course, the law enforcement's already there, and they know this is gang affiliated. So at this point, I've got 4 outside, 4 on the inside, just standing back watching everybody. And they're kind of walking around a little bit. They're not per se mingling with people, but they're keeping an eye on everybody. And a lot of people showed up for this. I'm like, damn, well, how big's the funeral going to be? If this many people showed up just for the viewing and visitation, what am I looking at tomorrow? And it was going to be at my chapel. So they told me before they left, all these people was leaving. And the family, of course, last ones to leave. The cops kind of hung back. And they're like, what time's this funeral tomorrow? And I told them, well, it's going to start at 11. They said, we'll be here by 10:30. And I was like, okay. Because they got assigned to help me. That was their job for this funeral. And they said, we'll be here at 10:30. Okay. So the next day, when I get there that morning, I'm like, man, we went through the viewing and visitation. Don't let nothing happen today. And what's the most number of painters you've come across at a fainters? I've had people faint, probably just a couple at one viewing I had. That's pretty much it. But yeah, they fainted. I mean, fainted. Like out cold fainted. So the day of the funeral, I got 4 cops on the outside, 4 inside my chapel. And I'm like, when did it come to the point where I had to have armed law enforcement inside my chapel? This is what I'm thinking of at the time. When did it ever come to this? Where I have to have freaking cops everywhere, inside and outside of my funeral home. I mean, this is crazy. But it's something I had to deal with. Everybody starts showing up for this funeral. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of people. My chapel was full and it would hold 300. I mean, it was full. And I'm just like, I'm waiting. I'm standing here almost holding my breath, waiting for something to happen. But the law enforcement really made their presence known with the people, if you know what I'm saying. They knew that something could happen because of this gang affiliation thing we was dealing with. But nothing happened at the funeral. Everything, went smoothly. I'm standing back like, oh God, let's just get out of here with some, nothing happening. I was stressing. Yeah, I was stressing that day because I did not know. Is this day going to go off without a hitch? Or am I going to be sitting with another family planning another funeral tomorrow? Yeah. And I'm telling one of my friends about this, y'all. And, well, they weren't there for the funeral, but I was telling one of my girlfriends from Oklahoma what had happened. And their remark was, well, if somebody would have got shot and killed, they'd have been at the right place. I'm like, oh, look. They was trying to get me to see some humor in it, but I couldn't. I mean, when you're put in that situation, you're on edge because you're thinking, damn, anything could happen at any time. Yep, it frazzled my nerves that day. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my friend like, you just really didn't say that, did you? Yeah, I mean, these days you can't tell, Janica, and that is true. I mean, you can go to the grocery store and that be your last trip there. I mean, you just never know. So we get ready, everybody, we're getting ready to leave the funeral home. All these officers go with me to the cemetery, like a whole damn convoy of them. We have like 3 in front of the hearse and we have 3 behind the hearse. Off we go. And I'm thinking, okay, all we got to do is get through the next 45 minutes with nothing happening. And then I can breathe a little easier because I'm like, damn, we're in open space now. This ain't a good place to be. That's what I was thinking to myself. And the guy that was with me, I was like, hey, you better stay close because they ain't nothing here to protect us now. We ain't got no walls around us or a building. I said, we are in open space. I said, we don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, he didn't venture off very far. He stayed pretty close to me. Cops were just walking around all over the place. I mean, they were there and they, like I said, they was making their presence known there. What was the dress code? I'm speaking of colors. I don't really remember a dress code per se. A lot of people showed up wearing black. Yeah, I remember that. but I don't remember really it having a dress code per se. I mean, the people that came, a lot of them just wore black. So I'm standing here, and I mean, I'm just looking everywhere because I'm like, if I see anything, yeah, I'm going to be like going back to the damn hearse and just sitting over there, because I'm like, I just got a very uneasy feeling standing out there, just in the wide open space. I'm thinking somebody could do something and take out all of us. We don't know what's going to happen. I think a couple of them cops knew I was kind of on edge. I was nervous. And one of them walked over there and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna take care of you. You're gonna be all right." And I was like, "Well, it ain't me I'm worried about." I said, "It's all these people." And they're like, "No, they ain't gonna do nothing. There's too many of us around." And I said, "If they're gonna do something, they'll do it after the fact." I'm like, "Well, thanks a lot for that." And I was like, "They could find out where I live." Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He said, "No, you're gonna be fine." Because even though this graveside service was going on, they was walking around. I mean, they let, like I said, the presence there was very well known. And after the graveside service, they went to lower this young man into the ground. They had him in the vault. They was getting ready to lower him in the ground. And damn, if somebody didn't freaking pull out a damn gun and shot like 4 times in the air, of course. But damn, you talking about people freaking scattering. We did not know. I'm like, what the heck? Well, of course, the cops being right there, they get this guy. And he's like, "I wasn't trying to shoot anybody." He said, "I was just giving him a standoff. This is what we do." And yeah, all I heard was one gunshot. I mean, and people was just scattering because the service was already over, but a lot of people was just standing around, talking and visiting. But when that first shot went off, man, people just scattered. It was crazy. I mean, I took off. Because I'm thinking, I am not going out of this world like this. Yeah, I am not conducting a funeral. This ain't the way I'm going out. But yeah, this person just shot up in the air. They wasn't, you know, out to hurt anybody. They was just shooting up in the air. And I'm like, damn, you don't do that at a funeral. So of course, the police, they get him. And I'm like, the adrenaline. Luna on 10, her nerves are like, oh shit, yeah, no doubt, man. I thought I was going to freaking have a heart attack right on the spot. I mean, I did not know. I just heard one gunshot. That was enough. But man, I never seen people move so damn quick in my life. I mean, because I'm like, are they, looking to do someone in, or what the hell's going on here? But yeah, they arrested that guy. But that's the only thing that happened. But that was enough. That was enough, yeah. Anyway, we get back to the funeral home. And I'm just sitting there like shaking my head, like, what the hell just happened? I don't even have words for it. Just that freaking adrenaline rush, I think, done me. So they're like, what's wrong? I walk in and they knew something had happened. And I just looked at them and shook my head. All I could do was go and just sit down at my office and be like, I'm glad this day's over. I'm glad I don't got to deal with this anymore because I just don't think I could handle another day. Yeah. But anyway, the guy that was with me, that worked with me, he come in. Well, he was right behind me. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him and shook my head and just went to my office. And he proceeded to sit in there and tell everybody what had happened. And they're like, dang, no wonder she don't want to say nothing. It probably scared the crap out of her. He said that was a feeling that you don't want to have happen. He said, especially knowing the circumstances around this whole thing. He said, I think she's just done. You know, she ain't got nothing left at this point. We need to just leave her alone for a little while. And it did, man. I mean, the whole rest of the day, I didn't really say nothing to anybody. I just kind of stayed to myself. I'm like, I cannot deal with this. Veteran services are bone chilling when they do the 21 gun salute. Yeah, they did that at my dad's service. And yeah, it is a friggin' different kind of feeling. Yeah, because he was buried with military honors, but yeah, they did that at my dad's service. Yeah, it hits you a little bit differently. But yeah, I mean, like I'm standing there talking to the family after this graveside service is done. I'm standing there talking to his family, his parents and his brother and sister and grandparents, and all of a sudden all you heard was just gunshots. And I'm like, holy crap. You know, you ever had a batshit crazy fight break out at a viewing? No, I never had a fight break out at a viewing, but I almost had a freaking wife get into it with her husband's mistress. I almost had that happen one time. That was a different story. That caught us all off guard. Because this man had passed away, and he'd been married to his wife like 30 something years. He passes away of a heart attack. We have the viewing and the visitation and all that. Well, this woman wasn't at any of this stuff. But it said they would be viewing up to 1 hour prior to the funeral. Okay. Well, the wife comes in the next morning because she wants to spend a little extra time with her husband, which that's fine. Go in there, do what you're going to do. He wasn't bothering anybody. She just went in there and was sitting with him. She was all upset, and I'm like, y'all make sure she's took care of, take her something to drink, make sure she's took care of. She's just in there by herself. So yeah, my people were checking on her, and I'm getting ready for this funeral, getting all the final things done for it. Well, here comes this woman in the door. I'm standing there because if you come in my front door, first thing you're going to see is that office, and my receptionist desk is right there. I was standing there talking to her when this woman walks in. And I'm like, oh, I don't know who this is, because I had another person in there too. I thought, well, maybe they're here to see, this individual. I go out and I talk to her. She's like, well, I'm here to see so and so. I'm like, oh, well, come on then. I'll take you there. I'll take you, in. Well, the wife is sitting here with her husband. Here, I did not know that this woman was his mistress. Well, she comes in, I take her in, and I'm talking to the wife. I said, well, she's here to see your husband. I guess she knew there was going to be a little short viewing before the service. Apparently, she knew the woman. And them two, man, they start friggin' arguing back and forth. I'm like, I've got to break this up. So I go out and get one of my guys, one of my big guys, because one of them was a pretty good sized boy that worked for me. I'm like, I need you because we've got a wife mistress situation going on here. And they were getting loud. I'm like, we got to break these two up. We got to get her out of here because I can't have this be happening at my funeral home. So he comes in there and he gets in between them and he's like, ma'am, you're going to have to leave. I've got every right to be here because me and him have been, I've been his mistress for the past 10 years. The wife is screaming at her, calling her some pretty nasty names, telling her she got to go. Yeah. And I'm like, ma'am, I think you need to go. I said, I can't have this here at my funeral home. Well, I've got every right to be here. He was going to divorce her anyway, and we was going to get married. I don't know what happened between y'all. I have no knowledge of this situation whatsoever. But I can't have you, upsetting her. I said, this is his wife. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a screaming match between these two. I'm not going. I have a right to be here. I said, ma'am, you can either go on your own free will. I have asked you twice now. Or I can call a police officer and have you escorted off the property. I said, I would rather you leave on your own. She was not going to go anywhere. I'm like, I told him, I said, you stay here and freaking referee these two. This mistress woman was telling his wife, well, look at that sorry casket you picked for him. I would have chose something much better than that. I mean, she was just going at this wife. And the wife was just coming back, freaking screaming at her. Luckily, there was no one else there. I called down to the police department. Here I go again. I was like, I need an officer up here because I've got someone up here disturbing a family member and they will not leave. I've asked them twice to leave and they refuse to. We'll send somebody up there. Well, about 10 minutes later, he walks in the door and he could hear him. I didn't have to say nothing. He went right to that viewing room. And he's like, and then I go, of course I go. I know them names she was using. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was pretty nasty situation there. So the officer goes in, I said, and he looks at me and he said, well, what is happening here? I said, this lady is the wife. She's been here since this time this morning. I said, this woman just showed up not too long ago. Apparently she's the mistress. The wife doesn't want her here. She's refusing to leave after I've asked her twice. I said, so you need to escort her off the property. And I said, I asked her to go. I told her I didn't want it to come down to this, but she refused to leave. So you need to handle it from here. So the officer told her, you're either going to leave now or I will arrest you and walk you out of here. He said, I'll give you the choice. He said, but when you leave, don't come back. Not today, not tomorrow, not the next 6 months. He said, I better not see your face again for a while. I didn't know the woman. Had never seen her before. I'm like, I don't even know who this is. Well, I've got a right to be here. He said, well, apparently you don't, because the wife does not want you here. And the business owner has asked you to leave twice because you're being disruptive. Well, anyway, she finally left. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. What just happened here? I'm thinking, if you are a mistress, whatever, whatever, you could at least wait until there wasn't no family around before you showed up. So yeah, the mistress she got banned. She couldn't come back up there. She couldn't come to the funeral. She couldn't do nothing. If anything, she probably went to the cemetery after the fact, because when we went to the cemetery, I seen a car that was parked way over on the other side of the cemetery. It was there when we got there. It was there after we left. So I bet that was her. I would lay money on that was her. I can't prove it because I couldn't see who was in the vehicle. But if I was gambling, I would say it was probably her, because she knew what cemetery that he was going to be buried at, which was at the city cemetery. It was in the obituary. So she knew. So I think that was her. But nobody never got out of the car or anything. Yeah, it was quite a story. Yeah, when you get banned from a funeral home, Janica, you know you're doing something wrong. She was banned from my funeral home. She could not come up there regardless. So yeah, you being bad when you get banned from a funeral home. Yeah, so that, well, the only other crazy situation I had to deal with, was the whole Mr. Jones story and his Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But the wife, I still to this day don't think knew that about Mr. Jones's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But this woman did not make it, she made it known. I mean, that she was the mistress. And I'm like, holy shit, you didn't have to say that. You could have just come in and said you was his friend. You didn't have to go into all these details like you did. But yeah, that's the only person, Janica, I've ever had banned from my funeral home. And I'm like, you doing something wrong. When you are banned from a funeral home, who does that? Yeah, my job was definitely eventful, Mark. There's always something popping off. And you never knew. Every day was different. Every day you dealing with a different group of people, different family. You don't know what was going to happen from one funeral to the next. You just said a prayer that nothing happened. She needed the drama. She needed something. I mean, she needed something, Janica. I mean, and to do this in front of his wife, I think, I think she had bad intentions when she walked in and seen the wife sitting there. I'm like, this is not going to be good. Yeah, I don't know, Mark, if Mr. Jones's wife. I think about Mr. Jones now and then, especially since I started doing these tales from the funeral home, and he was the first story I ever told on this. I think about Mr. Jones on occasion, and I'm thinking, I just don't think the wife knew. I just don't think his little wife knew what he was doing behind the scenes. Because she was only with him on the weekends. But he had his Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah, that was quite comical, though. I'll admit that. That was probably one of the craziest things that happened to me. And I was just beginning, I was 6 months into business when all this happened. I'm like, oh, Lord, But yeah, mistresses and girlfriends and all this crazy shit. Yeah, it happened. I mean, but usually if it was a mistress or a girlfriend, this is what would happen. They would wait till after the viewing and the visitation. And if it was not wrote in the obituary, they knew there wouldn't be no viewing prior to the funeral starting. But if there was, I'd always put it in there. So that's usually when these other people would show up, would be, the viewing before the funeral, right before. Yeah, I had this happen. Yeah. Just when you think you've seen it all. Yeah, pretty much, Janica. In this line of work, you see all kinds of crazy shit. And I'll just say it. You see things you never thought you would see. You deal with things you don't think you would ever have to deal with. It just, it's just part of it. Mr. Jones, I laughed till I cried on that story. I'm grinning ear to ear type. Yeah, Mr. Jones set the pace, y'all. He set the standard of what happened to me all through my career of owning my own funeral home. Because I dealt with it more than one occasion. But here's what's bad, especially when a woman dies and they're married and their guy friend shows up. I had that happen too. That makes for an interesting story. And I'm like, oh God, what else is going to happen? But yeah, Mr. Jones, here I am, 6 months of opening my door to my funeral home, and I have to deal with the Mr. Jones situation. Yeah, it definitely set the standard of what was to come down the road. And and it got me, what got me was I knew a lot of these people that I took care of after they passed away. But when you get mistress, girlfriend, boyfriend, guy friend, whatever you want to call it, show up for their viewing, you learn a lot about people you don't know. You learn a whole lot more than what you want to know. It's like if y'all was doing this, that's between y'all. You don't have to bring this shit public, What point are you trying to make? That's my question. What point are you trying to make? But I had to deal with it. Look at what all you've learned, all the secrets. Oh, yeah, I could write a damn book about people in my hometown, and that damn thing would be a bestseller. People in that town would be buying that shit up just to read on who would be in the stories. They'd be shocked, too. We're talking everybody from lawyers to doctors to veterinarians to business owners. There was a lot of secrets floating around in that small country town that a lot of people didn't know. But I think the craziest thing was I had a man pass away one time, and he was married, had been for 40 years or longer. I think it's 40 or 41 years to the same woman. He dies. The wife does not show up to plan his funeral. The girlfriend comes and plans the funeral. Now that there took me back. I call his wife and I was like, are you going to come? What time are you going to come and plan your husband's funeral? Yeah, I want to give you some time, but I need to know, so I'll have everything ready. She's like, I'm not coming to plan his funeral. I'm like, excuse me? She's like, his girlfriend is. I'm like, what? That's what I said. I was like, huh? She's like, well, he spent more time with him than I did, so she can bury him. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, okay. She said, I will be at the funeral though. I'm like, okay. Okay, ma'am. Yeah, I wasn't sitting there trying to say anything. I was just trying to figure out, when you coming to plan your husband's funeral. I'm not. I'm like, oh God, okay. So yeah, the girlfriend come and planned the funeral and freaking paid for it. Oh my God. Yeah, the scandal that was going around in my hometown, it killed me. And he was a business owner in town. I about freaking died. Yeah, I could write this book, Janica. I'd have to change. Well, would I change the names though? Probably, because I don't want to get sued. I'd have to change the names. But it'd be a damn bestseller in my hometown because everybody knew I had the dirt on everybody. Being who I was, yeah, you was told a lot of shit. So it was wild. I would have to change the names though of people because you could get in a lot of damn legal trouble over that. But I think if people read it, they could probably figure out who it was. So yeah, being in the position I was in, you learn a lot about people that you did not want to know. Or you're like, why the hell am I even hearing this shit? Yeah, this job was just all full of surprises, y'all. All full of surprises in my little country town. And there was so much damn scandal going on. It was crazy. I'm like, I wouldn't have never thought so and so would do that. And I knew them all my life. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Especially one of the business owners. I had knew this guy since I was just a little bitty girl. And come to find out, he had, he was married, but had a couple of women on the side. I mean, it was wild. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, kind of like YouTube, Janica. There's some crazy shit goes on YouTube too. I mean, what happened to the days, Janica? And you remember, anybody that's been around YouTube for any length of time remembers when it used to be fun. What happened to the days, of us coming on YouTube and just having fun and laughing and hanging out with people and having a good time? Now it's all about drama and freaking stupid shit. It gets old because you're hearing the same thing all the time. And then you sit back and you're like, let's see who can be the messiest today. Who's going to be the one that's going to show their ass today? And you kind of got, your wagers going behind the scenes. Well, I think it'll be this one or this one. Well, I think it might be this one. Yeah, it's people, do not disappoint. That's the thing. If somebody's going to do it, you're just sitting back wondering who's going to do it. Yeah, it's just stupid now, Janica. It's nothing like it used to be. I mean, I remember a time, and it did not matter whose channel you was on, whose chat you was in. all the creators, everybody got along. You could go from one live to another, the same people mixed with other people and just go and have a good time and laugh and joke around. And it was fun. But now it's just gotten plain out stupid. No wonder you left Oklahoma. You know all the secrets. Well, that's not the only reason I left Oklahoma, Mark. But yeah, I know a lot of secrets. What the hell happened? Yeah, I don't know, Janica. But now it's like, you could go to one chat on one creator's channel and then go to somebody else's. And somebody's like, well, they're over there in their chat. Who gives a shit at this point? I don't care. Where you go do what you're going to do. It ain't nothing to me where you go and hang out at. But now it's like if you go to somebody else's channel, you get talked about. People don't like it. And I'm like, what does it matter? It's freaking YouTube. Go do what you want to do. I'm like, I'm not, I don't take YouTube that serious. I'm going to turn it off and go do my thing. When I'm done freaking with YouTube, I turn it off and I go do live. I'm not that damn invested in it to give a damn. Yeah, jealousy is a lot of it, Janica. You are correct. And why? I don't get it. And then, Janica, this is the funny part. I still laugh about it to this day. I was told this a while back that I was jealous of people. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Hey, Sassy, what's going on, sister? Good to see you. Come on in. Yeah, I was like, well, this is something I don't know nothing about. If I ain't, I was like, that's the craziest thing you could have said. What the hell do I got to be jealous about? Nothing. Because I don't see in that, I'm not that way. I'm like, what the hell do I have to be jealous about? Nothing. Because at the end of it all, I guarantee you, Janica, the people that say you're jealous of somebody, when you turn YouTube off and go back to your real life, your life's a hell of a lot better than theirs is. There's just some miserable people on YouTube. I mean, I've learned that too. I'm like, you have nothing except YouTube. What about turning it off? Go touch some grass. Get away from freaking social media for a while. You'd probably be a hell of a lot happier if you did. I'm not that desperate. I can turn this shit off anytime and go do what I'm going to do because I'm going to enjoy myself a hell of a lot more. Yep, Janica, I don't get it. YouTube is just went batshit crazy. And like I said, you're sitting there talking. We're just talking about YouTube in general, Sassy, like how people are, jealousy amongst YouTube people, and how I was told I was jealous of people on YouTube. I'm like, get a fucking life, man. Are you serious right now? I don't have to be on YouTube to be happy. Hell, my life's a hell of a lot better away from YouTube than it is on YouTube. That I can guarantee. Yeah, just pay no mind. Yeah, I don't. That's why I still kind of sit back and laugh about things half the damn time that I've been told over time, because I'm like, you don't know me really. You don't know what I do away from YouTube. You have no clue. It's sad. Can't find an intelligent, fun conversation without someone fucking it up. Yeah, that's true. And see, I can have those serious conversations with people. Some people don't know how. Janica, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know how to have an intelligent conversation with somebody. They might start out okay, but then it goes to hell in a handbasket after about 5-10 minutes. It's like Rome burning. I got my popcorn. I'll watch the show. Yeah, pretty much. Well, I got haters, Luna, so join the club. Yeah, I mean, hell, I know I got haters, and there's people I don't really care for on YouTube, and I will admit that. I'm like, why the fuck are you even here? You know, you're just taking up space. You know, you need to move on and go find you another hobby, because you're not doing nothing here. You're not bringing anything worth any value to what you're trying to do. You know, what do I call those people? Panel killers. They'll go on a panel and just fucking kill the whole damn life, because they're panel killers. They bring nothing of any value to the conversation. They're just there because, you know, they also fall under the label of attention seekers. I've come to care to hate. Yeah, I'd have to care to hate. Well, yeah, that's true, Roland. I mean, there are people on YouTube, though, that I consider my friends. I really do. And I do care about those people. But they're not out making freaking fools of themselves either on YouTube. They go, they watch their creators that they enjoy watching and hang out with the people that's there. They're not there freaking being dumb and acting stupid and trying to draw attention to themselves. But there's those that do. Roland knows what I'm talking about, but there are those that do. You know, it's like they freaking go in a chat and they want it all about them and what they got to say. Hell with the other freaking 30 people that's in that chat. Hell, I don't know. I stay away from YouTube. My life is more important than this. Yeah, I mean, some people are selective of who they hang out with and what they watch, and I get that. You know, I completely understand that. But my thing is, you know, if you act this way on a social media platform, how do you act in life? You know, how are you in real life if you're this way on a social media platform? The nasty talk goes a little overboard. I'm not a prude, but some of it's downright disgusting, and that tells me a lot. Well, yeah. I've heard stuff, Janet, on lives I never thought I'd hear. I'm just like, man, I hang out solo. It's better to be solo away from the bullshit. Yeah. I mean, even I have gotten pretty damn selective of where I go and who I hang out with, because sometimes it just gets crazy. Yeah, I'm not part of any clique. And that's what, you know, it's kind of how it is anymore. You know, people run in these little cliques, or they want you to be part of their clique. And I'm like, I've never been a part of anybody's clique. You know, I've always done what I wanted to do. And if that's what I got to do to be part of it, then hell with that. I'll just do my own thing. I listen mostly, usually carving something. Yeah, you're over there doing your freaking crafty things and just listening, but I mean, it's just wild sometimes. And I'm like, I would much rather just do my own thing than have to be part of a group or a clique or whatever you want to call it to be a part of anything. You know, most of the people that do all this messy stuff is doing it because of what, ladies and gentlemen? Acceptance, wanting to be accepted by a group of people, or trying to draw attention to themselves, or, you know, whatever the case is. If I show up and give a creator a view and a like, boom, I'm out. Yeah? It's a beautiful day today. I went and played in traffic. Oh, she went and played in traffic. Well, I'm glad you made it back home safely. But yeah, I think a lot of it just sitting back watching, because I've been around YouTube long enough. I think I can definitely have an opinion. You know, a lot of these people that do this stupid crap that you see them doing, it's either they're seeking attention or they're doing this stuff to try to be accepted by other people into their little clique, as I like to call it, or they're just flat out making a damn fool of themselves. You know, it's one of the three. It could be all three. It could just be one. I mean, but I have seen some really stupid shit, especially this past, say, 6 months. I have seen some really stupid shit. It's attention seeking. I want, very selfish people, poor pitiful me. I've heard it all. Yep. I went to the lake and walked and was just in the peace and the quiet. Well, sometimes, you know, that's what I like when I just go out in the woods, Sassy. I'm just out there in the peace and quiet, just enjoying my surroundings. And Luna has not even done that in a while. I need to get my butt back out there and freaking get to doing it again. The weather, one, hasn't been working with me. Then I've been sick, so I ain't been able to go. But I will get back out there again, because I love being out in the freaking woods, just on a hiking trail, just doing my thing. Because I can go out there and forget about all the damn craziness, because I don't take that with me. I'm just out there enjoying the peace and quiet of it all. So yeah, YouTube has just went crazy. There's no woods there. Well, yeah, I mean, I know there ain't no woods there, Sassy. So you got to use what resources you have. And it's okay, you know, you went down to the lake and just walked around. Well, you was out doing something. I wouldn't share my personal life with anyone. None of their business. Yeah? But people will do it. Janica, they will come on YouTube and tell you all their stuff. They will tell you things that nobody even wants to know. I'm like, why are you even doing this for? You know, what made you feel the need of having to come on YouTube and tell all your shit? I mean, don't get me wrong. I have shared a lot with my subscribers. I mean, they knew. I didn't hide the fact from them when I was sick. Hell, I took them on that damn ride with me, because they knew there would be something going on when I just wasn't around. So I never hid that from them. I told them, you know, this is what's going on. This is what's wrong. This is what I'm going to do. I'll be checking in with y'all. I didn't hide that from them because I was going live so freaking much and they was used to me being around that I had to explain why I just, might not be around very much there for a while. So I never hid that from them. I was very open about that. And so I'm thinking, well, they got a right to know because Luna's just going to disappear without any explanation. I can't do that to my supporters. I wouldn't do that to them. So, yeah, they knew about that. Sad, isn't it? And it's embarrassing. Well, it can be because sometimes people put way too much private crap on here. But there's a lot that Luna does that nobody knows. I mean, and that's, you got to learn your boundaries, what you're going to talk about and what you're not. You have self-respect. Others don't know what that is. Well, yeah, because I remember that day when I was told, I had cancer, that I had breast cancer. I'm like, how the hell am I going to tell everybody, because this is what's coming up and Luna's not going to be around as much. They got a right to know. So I did a live. I told everybody, this is what's happening. This is what I'm going to have to be doing. Luna may not be around that much here for a while, but you got a right to know why. It's good. It's always good to put up boundaries. Yeah, it is. Because I mean, I talk a lot about stuff I do, but then there's a lot of things that nobody knows. Nobody needs to know because that's my private business. And that's the way it's going to stay. And, you got to know what to talk about and what not to. Well, Janica, it's just at that time, I was doing live freaking every day. I was around all the time. And I'm thinking it ain't fair to anybody that comes and supports me for me to just disappear and not even tell them nothing. I wasn't going to do that. So I did. I set the freaking live and I just done it and told everybody this is what's going on. This is, what I've got to do. I'll still be around when I'm up to it. But I was very open with everybody. And I think, people respected that because I didn't hide shit from them. I wasn't about to because I'm so attached to these people because they're with me freaking every day. They are here to see, what's Luna going to be doing today? Or what's she going to talk about tonight? We got to be there to see. So, yeah, I come right out and told everybody because at that time, I was still kind of in shock myself because I'm like, damn, this ain't something you want to get told. So I'm still processing it my own self when I come on and tell everybody else what's going on. But I felt kind of obligated to do it when I done it. Because I'm like, these people are with me every day. Every day I go live, they're here. So I'm going to tell them what's wrong, and what I've got to freaking deal with. And I'll still be around, but maybe not as much for a while I'm dealing with it. But, got through it, made a recovery, and hey, Luna's back. Luna was back. Well, at least you have a community you can talk to. Well, yeah, I mean, most of my people that was with me at that time had been subscribed to me for a long time. Oh, some of them from day one. So, and you get attached to people, you form those friendships with people. And I'm like, no, they got to know, because I'm just going to disappear on them and not tell them why. That's not fair to them. So I think myself, I've kind of felt obligated to do it. But yeah, but when I would go live, they'd be there with me. They always showed up. And I'd tell them what was, going on with my treatments, how things was going. I kept everybody updated, and how I was doing, and what the doctors would be telling me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, everybody followed along. And it was great, because you got that support too. So that was really good. That helped me out a lot, because it's like these people actually freaking care what's going on with me. And when you have people around you that care, and they care, yeah, that can carry you a long way. When you're dealing with stuff like that. But no, Luna is well now. I'm still within that 5-year period, but I'm good. My health is good. I'm blessed for that. So we're going to get to the end of that 5-year period and not have to worry about it anymore. I still got to do checkups every friggin' 6 months. But so far, everything's good. Luna's good. I just take care of myself. The only thing I got, my biggest complaint right now, is because the chemo treatments freaking killed my immune system. It's easy for me to get colds, and if there's viruses going around, that's kind of why I stay away from people. But when I get sick, and it takes me longer to get over stuff than probably the normal person, because my immune system is still compromised because of the chemo. But that's okay. Everything's going to get back on track, and my immune system will be back the way it used to be. But that's why, when I get a cold or a flu, I'm down for a while, because I don't got the immune system to be, to fight it off. So it takes me a little longer to get over stuff. And that's just something I have to deal with. Yeah, you are, Mark. Y'all are like my extended family. I mean, that is fact there. You ain't even lying, Mark. So yeah, I mean, Janica, that's why, I stay away from people, especially during cold and flu season, this time of the year. I make a point to just really stay away from being in public places, not going out amongst a bunch of people. I kind of just stay to myself, because if I get something, what might take y'all a week to get over, it could take me 2 or 3, because of the compromised immune system I have. So yeah, I have to be real careful in the winter, especially if there's flus and viruses and shit floating around. I have to be really careful and stay away from people. Now, how did I get this flu I'm dealing with? Hell, I don't know, because I wasn't around anybody. And I still don't know. Do you wear a mask, Luna, when you're in public? Or I haven't wore a mask in public. No, Because I'm not really, this time of the year, I'm not really out in public that much. Unless I have to make, a quick trip to the grocery store or down to Tractor Supply to get the animals food or whatever the case is. I'm not really out that much. I pretty much stay in. I still don't know, where I got it. Mark, it was good seeing you, brother. You have a good and blessed day. I will see you next time. Gas station pumps are the worst for germs. Yeah, well, up here you don't pump your own gas. They have to pump it for you, which I kind of like that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where I picked it up, where I picked up this flu bug I got a hold of, but I've been sick for a couple of weeks now. Well, actually, a little bit longer because I did that live on a Wednesday because I had this new schedule set. I did that live on a Wednesday night. Thursday morning, my voice was gone. I couldn't talk till early Friday evening. And I was going to do that live on Saturday because I was getting my voice back. And then I didn't do it. They're like, I was getting told, like, nope, you need to just, forget about that, take care of yourself. And I was feeling pretty rough. I started feeling pretty rough that night. So, yeah, I don't know where I picked it up at. Because I really wasn't around anybody. So, I don't know. Hell, Adrian could have brought it in on me. I don't know. Because he was out with that young couple. They had went out. He might have brought some kind of freaking cooties in to me. I don't know where I got it from, but he wasn't sick. So I don't know. So yeah, I guess I've been dealing with this for about 2.5 weeks, I guess. Something like that. Pretty close to it, a day or two. I mean, so yeah, it might be another week before it goes away. Who knows? You need to sit back, legs elevated, cup of hot tea, and chilled. West and maybe you were kissing boys with cooties. No, I wasn't kissing no boys with cooties. That I can tell you. I was not doing that. I think Adrian probably brought it in to me. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's the only thing I can think of. Because I haven't even been out of his house that much. I'm just like, why am I getting sick again? Because I was sick for a damn month. Then I was well for 2 weeks. Then I freaking ended up getting this mess. I'm like, I ain't catching a break here. I'm like, what the hell is making me so sick all the time? It's just to the point, you're just tired of being sick and dealing with freaking flu or colds or what. I'm over it already. I'm ready to feel myself again. But that may take another week or so before I'm there. We'll see. But next week, guys, bring your questions. We'll do a Q&A in here. You got a week to think of your questions that you want to ask me. Write them down. And then I'll just take a question at a time and answer it. And then, move on to the next one. But we'll have a good time in here next Saturday. Time to carry sanitizer with you. Well, I usually do have hand sanitizer on me. I've got it in the car. I've got it here in the house. I don't know. But I'll be all right. Might just take a little bit longer, but I'll be okay. So that's next week's plan for Tales of the Funeral Home. Like I said, bring your questions because it'll be a Q&A. If there has ever been anything you wanted to ask a funeral director, next week is your opportunity. So, and it's probably not going to be anything I haven't heard already. At least one time. Y'all might surprise me and have something in there I've not heard or been asked before. But it'll be a lot of fun. We'll have a good time with it. And then, not next Saturday, but a week from next Saturday, I'm going to do some scary stories from the funeral home. Because I've had things happen in my funeral home that y'all ain't going to believe. Y'all heard about the door slamming, but that was just one thing that happened. So I'll get you in on all those spooky stories, and I'll tell you some things that happened. So that's kind of for the next 2-week plan, what we're going to be doing in here. So now y'all know. So next Saturday, 3 o'clock, we'll gang up. We'll do it again. Yeah, I never know, Jenica. You may come at me with something I haven't been asked. But like I said, y'all get your questions together next Saturday. We'll do this Q&A. We'll have a good time with it, though. So there's your next 2 weeks, what we're going to be doing. But it was great having y'all here with me. I appreciate y'all coming out and hanging out. Yeah, we talk some funeral stuff. At the end we just talk about whatever, but it's all good. Because I just enjoy hanging out with y'all, whether we're doing funeral stuff or we're just having conversation. It's all good with me. But guys, I want y'all to have a good and blessed evening. Like I said, I love and appreciate y'all. I will see y'all next Saturday, 3 o'clock. Be here for the Q&A. And I will talk to you all later. Have a good evening, everybody.